Welcome to the Be Accuracy ERP in Action tutorial. So in this series of videos, we have been seeing about international business management or the global trade. So in today's session of international business management, we will be seeing about payment process. So before we go to the payment process, we'll just rewind on what we saw in costing process. So under costing process, we went through vendor management system, sending RFI, RFQ to the vendors and the RFQ to the CHA agent. And then the product cost management based upon the vendor quotations and the RFQ from the CHA, we did the product cost management. And with the product costing, we sent our pro forma invoice to our buyer. And just to remember on what we saw on the pro forma invoice in terms of value and the buyer name. So buyer name was XYZ Trading, and we have sent the pro forma invoice on 27th of November, and this is our pro forma invoice number, and we are yet to receive the buyer PO number. And this was our pro forma invoice sent to the buyer with information on the value, what it was, and the payment terms, place of loading, and the final destination. We have also received quotation from our vendor based on which we have sent the quotation to our buyer. So just to see our quotation, what we have from our vendor, this was from ABC Agro Products, and our order numbers with the ABC was 503, and we kept our buyer number, which is 10003. That's nothing but our quotation reference number, just for our internal referencing. And this was the price we got for the product that we have asked for quotation, which is red chili S4334, and the unit price was 800, and this is the quotation value excluding the tax. And when we send the PO, we will be including the tax if it is applicable. So now let's quickly go back to the process. So once we have sent the pro forma invoice or quotation to the buyer, we can send a declaration of sample in case the buyer has requested you to send a sample, which can also be instantly generated in our Be Accuracy ERP. So I will be creating a temporary sample declaration on today's date, and I'm writing the consignee, which is nothing but the buyer for me. Over here it is XYZ, and I write the product which I'll be sending to them, S4334. There's only one product that I'll be sending to them. Product sample size, let's say it's 1 kg, which will be mentioned in the packaging. And then the country of origin, let's say it's India. And what type of currency I'll be sending. Since it's a sample, I can consider rupees, or in case you want, you can also consider US dollar, as this is only just for non-commercial purpose. So over here, product value, I'll just give 50 rupees just for record as a free sample. And I will be printing this on my company letterhead. So this is the instant generated declaration letter that can be sent to your courier, EMS, post, or through whatever service you offer to send your sample to the buyer. And this is of course a no commercial value, so we have given 50 only just for reference to mention that this product is for free samples. So once we have sent the sample order to the buyer, they might send us the LPO confirmation to accepting our quotation value and the declaration of sample what we have made with them. So we update our pro forma invoice with the buyer's PO number. So we open our pro forma invoice and we update the buyer PO number. Let's say it is 7878965 as an example. So we update this and then we save our order, and we can view our order. So this order has been updated with the buyer PO number. So if in case you wanted to check the cost calculations, we can do. So after the costing process, we move to the payment process. So in the payment process, we have 3 steps. So in the first step, we actually send a bank letter for advance payment, as our payment is LC at site. As per our quotation with our buyer, we have LC at site, and we can also see other methods of payment what we have in export order. So we have advance, which is the safest method, and LC at site, LC terms, DP at site, TA terms, and open account. So these are all the payment terms we have in export orders. So in our order, current order, we have LC at site. So we have bank letter, which is required for advance payment, that can be generated instantly in our Be Accuracy ERP. So we enter the pro forma invoice number, and the invoice value automatically appears in the foreign currency. And these are the documents that we need to submit along with our bank letter, pro forma invoice copy, and the IRM. So we take a copy of the bank letter with all our information of our current account, our bank information, and the advance amount required. As I mentioned, we have to keep a copy of pro forma invoice and the IRM reference number, which is required for the bank to process the advance payment. So once this is generated, the next step is to generate LOI, letter of intent, that needs to be sent to the buyer, and it has to be signed between buyer and us. So we generate the LOI. So before generating, it's also mandatory that we make sure we do the ECGC checks for the country and for the buyer and the bank through the form 144. So we generate the pro forma invoice number, and the LOI will be automatically generated with the customer's or the buyer's LPO number. So this is required to be signed by both the parties. So once this is done, as I mentioned, we will need to check the payment. If it is LC, we will have a ECGC process check, so to make sure our process of payment is secured. And even the same applies for DP and DA. So once these process of LOI ECGC is all set, the next step will be to buy the product with our supplier and pack it as per the requirement. We'll be sending a purchase order in a while, and then after the purchase orders are all done, we'll be going to the pre-shipment documents. So the next step in the payment process is request for proposal. Over here, we'll be sending a purchase order to our supplier. So since we already have received a quotation from our supplier, we use the same order number and modify it to make it as a purchase order. So we use the same order number of 503, and we modify the order date to today's date, 28/01/2026. And we check the other informations. If we need to modify, we can change it over here. And of course, the major change that we need to do is a date of delivery. Previously it was agreed 15/12, and currently, as we are in 28 January, we are changing the delivery date, let's say 15 Feb 2026. And other payment terms, everything remains the same, and the place of loading, final destination, in case of any changes, we modify it, and we click to confirm the order. So once this button is clicked, it asks whether if our buyer has confirmed the order and the payment option. We say yes, and then we confirm it with OK. And now we can see and save our order so that our purchase order is generated. So this is our generated purchase order, where we could see the confirmation number that we'll be sending it to our purchaser, supplier, and then today's date, order date, mentioned in the purchase order clearly. And all the information related to the supplier has been updated along with the GST number and other informations. And along with that, we have 5% tax, which will be now added in the purchase order, as this will be the final order that we'll be sending it to our supplier. So this will compute the total value, including the GST tax amount. So this purchase order will also include payment terms, date of delivery, which is 15 Feb, and then the place of loading and the final destination. So this concludes this session of the Be Accuracy ERP tutorial. We hope you discovered something valuable in international business management today. See you in the next episode. Signing off.